Was that your first time seeing Snag?
No, I saw them play with Masa Nera at X-Ray Arcade a while ago.
Okay.
And they played on the floor, and it fucking ruled.
I love when bands play on the floor at a venue with a stage.
It's so cool.
State Lines do that once. It was very sick.
Nice.
But it was also just funny because it was after my band had played on the stage, and they were like, fuck this, we're setting up on the floor. Welcome to Noise Floor, a podcast about music and our favorite artists' discographies. I'm Troy Sennett.
And I'm Matt Kistler.
And today we are continuing our Cab For Cutie series, talking about their album Asphalt Meadows, which came out in September of 2022 and on Atlantic Records. This one was produced and mixed by John Congleton, the first time working with him after a couple records with Rich Costi. I'll say straight up, I love this record, with one exception that we'll get to. But I think this is a pretty phenomenal turn and like a mid-late career era album for a band like Death Cab. They feel, even though I think we liked their last couple records quite a bit, this one feels revitalized and exciting in ways that are just so much fun to listen to and so unlikely for it being essentially a COVID record. But Matt, what is your history with Asphalt Meadows? Were you into it when it came out? Were you hearing it for the first time this week?
No, I did listen to it when it came out, and I do remember liking it, and I at least vaguely remember being like, yeah, this is pretty fresh for Death Cab, like after, at the time being kind of lukewarm on the last couple of things that come out, or like, I liked Kintsugi but hadn't really returned to it. Apparently completely missed Thank You for Today. But yeah, I don't know. I didn't like return to this one a bunch, but I remember being pretty stoked on it when it came out. I hadn't like followed the the release cycle leading up to it at all, so I had no idea what I was getting into. But obviously, like, the album art on this one is very striking, and I was like, well, like even if I didn't care, I'd probably want to check this one out anyway based on that alone.
A photograph that Ben Gibbard took. I
know, it's great. Like maybe probably top 3 Death Cab album art for me in general. Transatlanticism is obviously
what else
the number
is
one.
Transatlanticism number one.
I feel like I like Narrow Stairs' artwork a lot.
It's a good concept. They do tend to have very striking artwork. I tend to be drawn more to the physical packaging where they would always do the die cut thing.
That is true.
Sorry, I'm pulling up all the Death Cab album art right now because now I actually have to rank
Fax
these.
is also like obviously up there. That one's iconic.
Yeah, Fax is cool.
Plans I Could Take or Leave, no shade.
I like that you can play these songs with chords CD art a lot.
That is also very cool.
More the physical object than anything else.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, this one probably takes it. I think this is my favorite.
Yeah, this one's really good. I feel like I like it for similar reasons that I like Common Existence. I guess I just, like a striking picture of a nun in a non-nun setting.
I had not thought about that, but that's a good thread to tie there.
Yeah, for real. But anyway, album art aside, I liked this one when it came out, and I feel like I like it even more now, especially after kind of learning what all went into making this album and kind of why it sounds the way that it sounds, which, again, we'll get into.
We may as well get into that now.
Yeah,
This was the COVID album, as I said. This one, they had Thank You for Today comes out in 2018, the Blue EP in 2019, and then kind of early 2020, they are starting to work on the next record. And obviously, everything goes to hell in 2020. And they write this album remotely in a Exquisite Corpse style, or they call it a chain letter writing process.
Yeah.
Where they would just draw names out of a hat to pick the order of who would work on each song each week. And they say each Monday, one member had the day to write the beginning of a song. Tuesday, he'd pass it along to another member who had full creative liberty over the song in progress until the next day, and so on and so forth. And they each, they could take entire sections out, get rid of the drums, add whole other things and styles, and change the key and the tempo and whatever. And this seems like it was a very positive, revitalizing process. They say that Death Cab felt like a new band, and they ended up with 90 some song ideas through this process, which is wild.
Incredibly wild. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, they really talk about this as like, Nick calls it like this space to explore their own creative impulses without the fear that can come from group dynamics. And that it really cleared the way for them to just be creative. And this is following, I mean, I think everyone was stir crazy and sort of uninspired by the beginning of the pandemic. Ben does all those live streams that we've talked about that I think kind of get him back in the creative mode as he's revisiting the Death Cab catalog and sort of making himself play every day and stuff like that. It is, I mean, no other Death Cab record has been written like this one.
No. And I doubt they would do that, something like this again unless extenuating circumstances happen. Yeah. But yeah, it's really cool that like that worked out that way. I found an interview with Dave where he like kind of specifically talked about like his perspective on how this process went. And I was kind of hoping I could find one for everybody because like, obviously like Ben and Nick do a lot of like the like public facing interviews, and Ben was the one talking the most about like kind of where his place in the project was. It was really funny in that K-Rock interview. Nick brought up that the week that Here to Forever was written, he started that week on Monday, and then I think passed it off to Dave. And then Wednesday, Ben said, "This isn't working," and scrapped it and wrote Here to Forever, which is very, very funny. And Nick was like, "Yeah, if we hadn't have done so bad, we would have never written that song." So it feels like it was still worthwhile.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the thing with
that is
when
you
have 90 song ideas, like you can scrap something that's not working. I always wonder, I don't know if you feel the same way about this, but whenever a band is like, we wrote 50 songs, we wrote 100 songs, do you always in the back of your mind feel like, were these really the best 11? I think this record is great. There's a song on it that I really hate, which we'll talk about. But that was the thing with Switchfoot. Like they were like, we wrote 80 songs for a record. And at the time it was like, this is my least favorite Switchfoot record. And so I was like, I want to hear the other 70 songs because I need to know if they were all really bad or what happened there.
Right. Yeah, I do. I definitely am. I definitely do have that thought sometimes. With this album in particular, like they've talked about this in the past. Like obviously all of these songs are in varying states of completion. If they realize that like it's not working, that still counts as a song, but it gets thrown out. Yeah. So like what's more interesting, like even beyond that, like obviously, yeah, I want to hear everything, but they talk about how they went into the studio with John with, I think, about 16 songs that they wanted to give a shot on the record. And then like kind of discovered, things weren't working while they were in the studio. They talk specifically about how like kind of John's superpower, like going into this record was that like he was able to like kind of help them like comb through what they had and like, get it all aligned with like a more singular vision than just a collection of 16 songs. I want to know what the other 5 songs were for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I assume that Arrow in the Wall is one of them.
Oh, it's got to be, yeah.
And maybe the other ones, like, in past records have just never made it to the even being fully recorded.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, so John Congleton, who produced this record, did I confuse him with John Vanderslice in a previous episode when we talked about them recording at Tiny Telephone, which is Vanderslice's studio?
No, I'm pretty sure we said Vanderslice.
Oh, okay, good. Because when I was reading about this, and they talk about meeting John Congleton in the summer of 2021, I believe Zach Ray, the new keyboardist, introduced Ben and John, and they like immediately fell in love. I was like, there's no way that was the first time they met him. They recorded at a studio, but no, these are different producers named John who both are, very prolific and influential and have, great styles that mesh well with Death Cab. Congleton has been on my mind this week because he's worked with the Mountain Goats quite a bit, including on their new album that came out this week.
You know who else has worked with the Mountain Goats a bunch? John Vanderslice.
Yes, exactly. Maybe it's all in one soup.
Yep.
my brain. Congleton was not their first choice. They have not said who they initially had started working on this record with.
They said it was a British producer, and I think that was all that they said.
In the articles to say an unnamed British producer, they had a kind of a falling out over creative differences and the COVID distance and stuff. I was trying to think about who it might have been. I'm so curious, but I have no way of knowing or speculating. But I think they landed on the right place because, like I said, this album sounds amazing. It's mixed extremely well, and the band, like I said, sounds alive in ways that, even though as much as I love aspects of the last couple records, I think this clears both of those pretty easily.
I would definitely agree with you on that one. You can tell the band feels like a new band. Like they say that, and you can tell.
Yeah.
They do the thing where they talk about how like some of the older like Death Cab seeps in here, and I do hear that a lot more on this record than I do on Thank You for Today, for sure.
Agreed completely. And it's funny because that was the one where they were like, this feels like old Death Cab to
right.
us. And this is the one that kind of has more of that stylistically and I guess just kind of the feeling of the songs. I don't know. I mean, thematically, this is so much an album about middle age. Right. Ben specifically says the theme is loss of time and the finite amount of it that we all have, which I think goes hand in hand with the middle age thing. It's a very reflective record. I think it's an album that is both about, like I said, the loss of time, but also realizing there is so much to life that you just will not experience and marveling at that and then being okay with it.
Yeah.
And that feeling, especially on We Like Waves, which is my favorite song on this record, is, I don't know, it's summed up so well and described so well in these lyrics. I was kind of like taken aback by that song in particular, but a couple, 3, 4, 5 songs on this album that I think are top tier, some of the best stuff Ben has ever written.
Yeah, there's a lot of people describe this album as being very existential, and I think that's a large part of that feeling.
Yeah, and that's, again, it's a COVID record. That's how everyone was feeling at the time. I like that. Whereas with Thank You for Today, Ben talked about kind of wanting to give people something that was different than the feeling that was just in the air by like not writing a political record. This one, I feel like he kind of did the opposite thing and leaned into the feelings that everyone was having at the time. These are songs that were written remotely during COVID, during lockdowns, but he's not like, sometimes he's writing directly about that very literally.
Sure.
But other times it's just what all that isolation led so many people to feel like, essentially, like you were saying.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, he talked in one interview about how he was like, yeah, I don't want to write a record about COVID. Like, I don't want to write songs about being on the couch watching Netflix, obviously. But yeah, like I think in avoiding doing that, like, yeah, he does. I don't think Ben would write a record like that anyway, to be very clear here. But
the first song on this record is that. Like, it's what it
100% is that. Yeah. Do we want to go ahead and launch into that here?
I have one more thing I want to ask you about before that.
Sure. Yeah.
So I was looking back at all of the other bands we've covered and the handful of COVID era albums that we've talked about. And is this the only one that is like a true product of the lockdown times? Because I feel like Bright Eyes and Paramore kind of missed the COVID era because of timing. Like, they had records that either were done right before or started kind of in 2022. Rise Against, I think, and Mitski had records that were mostly written in 2019 and maybe recorded in 2020. But this is the only one we've covered, I think, that truly is like a product of lockdown.
No, I think you are 100% right there. I think everybody else just missed it. I think Mitski was mildly affected by it when recording Laurel Hell, but that was when recording Laurel Hell, not when writing it.
Yeah, I think it was mostly done and she was putting the finishing touches on it during that time. But also the other thing is the Mitski records are just Mitski and what's her producer's name? Whatever, those are two people making those records for the most part.
Right.
And this is a much bigger endeavor than that. I just thought that was interesting to think about. And I feel like it's every band that we cover or even that I listen to, I'm always like, how does the record they put out in 2021 or 2022 compare to everything else? And is it weird like the COVID era movies where they, there's all of a sudden there's no extras and everything is inside?
Right. Yeah.
But Yeah, no, we can talk about the songs. So this starts off with I Don't Know How I Survive. And this is just, again, from the opening guitar riff, my interest is so piqued. I'm so excited by the very beginning of this song. It's so lively. There's those like hand claps that have all that reverb on them. And then when the full band hits on that first little half chorus and it's so sudden and so loud,
God.
I am like jumping out of my seat with excitement. It's like, this is the most excited I've been by Death Cab in many, many years.
Yeah, no, that like if you didn't know anything going into this record, this one's like a jump scare, but in the best possible way.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it just rocks. That refrain is so loud. That big guitar bend is just like undeniable.
Yeah, the like the guitar solo, the way it like crashes and swells back into the intro riff later. Conversely to how this record was written, this feels like the kind of thing that comes from a band playing together in a room. And maybe it was developed as a studio thing. They didn't like release a demo of the song or anything, so I don't know for sure. It's just a great idea. It's a great way to start off a Death Cab record, especially one that comes after a pretty quiet album.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was like shaped a little bit in the studio on that front. Either way, like, yeah, this is a stark contrast to where we left off on the last album.
Yeah, and as I mentioned before, this is a song that's just so obviously about existing in 2020. And there's all these references to, listen to the ringing in your ears, this quiet, there's nothing around you. It's all about you're just kind of alone with your breath and your heartbeat, and the praying even though you don't believe, just in case they are received by anyone. Yeah, the sort of, it's all about the isolation.
Yeah. I mean, not to make this personal, but I learned what a panic attack feels like during COVID. I don't know if other people listening did, but like the listen to the sound of your heartbeat growing louder, gaining speed. Like, yeah, that there was a lot of that over the course of the first year and a half of all of that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just a spectacular opening track.
It really is, yeah.
Then you get to Roman Candles, which is like one of the shortest, kind of loudest, fastest Death Cab songs, at least since the very early era. This was the first single. This album had like a 4-month rollout. I remember it was.
They released fully 3 or 4 singles before the record came out, right?
Yeah. This is kind of like a fuzzy, sort of post-punk influenced song. I like that it's such a short song that is also just textually about not holding on to things for too long.
Right.
I think there's a nice interplay between structure and theme there. They talk about this being a song they tried to sample a Faust song, but Congleton was just like, no, we're just going to record a kick drum and absolutely crush it, and it sounds very cool.
So I think that this is a kick from a modular synth, because I saw somebody messing around with one, and then like they were talking about like that kick sound. But yeah, it rules. It's so cool.
This song also has one of my favorite music videos ever, I think.
It's so cool.
Where it's literally like a one take video, like another one, where they just set off a bunch of fireworks, but it has the like safety crew putting the gas masks on the band as part of the video, and they like Nick is rocking so hard that his just falls off. It's very funny. And
yeah.
Ben doesn't have one because he's singing, which I assume he has super lungs from running ultra marathons by this point.
Presumably, yeah.
But it's a very simple idea, and it's very visually cool, and it ties into this idea of the fireworks, the Roman candles, that everything is I am learning to let go of everything I tried to hold too long because they all explode like Roman candles. This chorus that repeats. It's just I remember seeing that music video and it getting me even more excited for where Death Cab was at.
Yeah, I don't remember if I saw this video or not prior to watching it for this episode, but like, yeah, it's so striking. It's so fun.
Yeah,
like
they're clearly having a great time.
Yeah, the behind the scenes video where they talk a little more about it. Like yeah, clearly they just had like a good time. I love that they leave them being like, yeah, I think that's the one at the end, and them like just walking off.
The diegetic sound that comes in is the thing they do. I think a lot of their music videos, but it's cool.
Yeah, for sure.
After that is Asphalt Meadows, the title track. This verse is in 10/4 time. It took me a minute to kind of figure out what they were doing with that groove, and it does feel like the kind of thing that maybe drummer Jason McGurr was like, I'm gonna, it's my turn to write something for our Exquisite Corpse thing. I'm gonna send this crazy groove and see if anyone can write to it, and I think it ends up working really well.
I think it really does. And like, when you're doing something like 10, like, you're gonna get effectively a bar of 4 in there unless you're like really leaning into a weird feel.
Yeah.
Or it's like 2 5s somehow, in which case it's just in 5. But yeah, no, I think they really, like, it doesn't feel weird. Like it feels like it is, it feels like it flows, like, like a song that's just in 4 would. It's just like, if you're paying closer attention, you get that, oh, something's a little different about this.
Yeah. And it's sort of, I think that sort of off-kilterness ties into what the song is about, which is this idea that living in a city will wear you down and sort of crush the life out of you. It feels more tied to the Ben stated theme of the album that's about the loss of time than it is necessarily the COVID-related ideas. But I think they took use this image, Asphalt Meadows, as the title of the album, obviously, and it does have this kind of natural versus organic feeling, and the sort of battle between those two ideas, I think is pretty prevalent in Ben's songwriting over the years.
For sure, yeah. And Ben kind of, in one of the interviews that I found, he talked a little bit about the kind of where the title came from, and he's like, he kind of talks about how specifically, like, yeah, like we think of these like natural meadows as a beautiful thing, but like over the course of time, we've come to think of cities as beautiful things as well. And like, I kind of like, one, I like how those two words sound together, but also like, I like how those two images kind of intertwine in like the modern mind in a lot of ways.
Right. And also the chorus is built around this idea of like weeds that grow through the cracks in the concrete, basically.
Right. Yeah.
And then still get trampled down by our, people moving through the city, which is, again, is sort of at odds with the COVID-ness of the album in a weird way, because you remember all the nature is reclaiming the cities thing when everyone was really inside for those first couple weeks of the pandemic. And
right.
I just thought those were fun ideas to juxtapose. Fun is maybe the wrong word there, but interesting ideas to juxtapose.
For sure, yeah. Well, and like, I mean, there are other songs on this record where, we talk a little bit about native land, and I feel like that kind of figures into this theme as well, because
totally,
this is absolutely in opposition to that.
Yeah. And I mean, I would say that I don't know if you have anything else to say about this song, because I think that idea ties right into Randa McNally, the next song, which is a song. I'm an absolute sucker for any song that is about the history of the band that's writing the song. And this is the song about the early years of touring with Death Cab and all their little, their stories and the trouble they get into on the road and calling home and what it was like to tour in the late 90s and early 2000s. But I was struck by this idea in the song that this is a lot of the stories they tell. They're in Texas, they're in Wyoming or Idaho, or they're in like the American West, the wide openness, the frontier.
Yeah.
But yet, even when you're touring the seemingly endless, middle states of the country, you are still on asphalt the whole time. And I was like, oh, that it is, the highway is kind of an asphalt meadow in and of itself. And I really liked that. And that's just one of the many things that I love about the song, but I will let you say something about it. I've gone on.
No, I mean, I think I love all the same things about this song that you love. Like, I am absolutely a sucker for songs about the band. Obviously we've heard a lot of those over the course of this entire podcast and even within this series, but like the way that Ben writes about, this kind of like time in his life is really like pretty singular. I love the set of lines. A handful of 20s in your overcoat always rolled into a pillow on some stranger's floor. You tell these stories with happy endings only when interrupted before they're over. Like, just kind of like, not, I wouldn't say hinting at, but basically explicitly saying like, Yeah, shit goes wrong all the goddamn time. But people are gonna tell you, "Oh, that's so cool," before you get to the bad parts.
Yeah, and I mean, I kind of took that as a sort of reference to you talk about this time in your life as the excitement before you get to the strife that comes with the band getting bigger. With, I mean, I think this explicitly referencing Chris Walla and his, their struggles, sort of before transatlanticism, and then obviously when he decides to ultimately leave the band, and a lot of what he didn't really like being on the road all the time, and
Right.
I think that's tied into the song explicitly.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, the whole chorus is "I won't let the light fade."
Yeah.
and like talking about how you're not going to let it get to you, because like ultimately, like this is what you want to be doing.
Yeah. I just want to call it my favorite line in the song is that we lived on whiskey and Twizzlers and youth's discontent.
That's so good. It's so good.
Great image.
I'm also partial to the "we dance to both types of music," as the old joke claims, but that's more funny than anything else.
Right. Oh yeah. This song makes me so happy.
Yeah, I love this one, and we'll get to it later, but I love its acoustic counterpart, maybe even a little bit more.
Same. After that is Here to Forever. This was the second single. This song did much better than I realized. It was number 1 on the alternative charts.
Yeah.
Just a really great kind of classic Death Cab groove in the verses. They got that melodic bass line that Nick Harmer, as always, the unsung hero of this band. Yeah. And just a song about reflecting on the passage of time and this idea that, people are preserved in the movies they make and the bones and the ashes, even though the people are gone, and kind of just reckoning with this idea feels like, once again, a very existential, existential song for an existential time.
Yeah, looking at, I mean, this is not unfamiliar territory necessarily, but like looking at the ways in which people are remembered, the classic, you die twice, once when you leave this planet, once when the last person speaks your name for the last time. This is very directly that in the terms of like media preservation of people, and how you can, in fact, like kind of fall in love with those people, even though they are long since gone.
Yeah. And it's about romanticizing the past and what that can do. Yeah. Also, that I can't help but keep falling in love with Bones and Ashes, and and then there's this like longing in the song about belief, I think, that is really interesting. I want to feel the pressure of God or whatever.
Yeah.
Kind of this sort of like, I want to find something more out of life, whatever that looks like.
Yeah. When you're having thoughts like this, I guess, for a lack of a better way of putting it, like, yeah, you want there to be more than like there is on the surface. Like, yeah, these people are dead, but here I am interacting with them in some way, shape, or form. I am longing for the period that they are from, even though I didn't live through that at all. Et cetera, et cetera.
I like the way that the bridge lyrics sort of play with that idea too. This only rollers keep rolling while the searchers keep scrolling. Where this idea of like a holy roller, it is sort of a classical, antiquated idea about someone who believes unquestioningly and believes loudly, and then while the searchers keep scrolling, this idea of this increasingly disaffected younger, newer generations who aren't finding that belief in religion, but are just, I guess we'll just keep flipping through TikTok until we find something that will call to us.
Right. Yeah. It's a really great couplet in the bridge there. This is, since I said this to you earlier, I'm going to have to update everybody's times. Matt thinks that this band sounds a little bit like the Cure counter, for anybody playing along at home. Feel like this song sounds a lot like a Cure song, like one of the more upbeat ones. But I actually, going back to the only rollers keep rolling, I can't hear the word only there. I always hear the word holy.
I thought the same thing. It kind of works either way.
Yeah, it definitely works either way, because like that is obviously what he's talking about. But I really liked, for anybody out there who is as enamored with Jason Begur's drumming as I am, Troy, you found that video of him just like doing a playthrough of this, like isolated drums from like a sound check, and I think it's really, really cool. especially given that like the first third of the song is just that like rim click snare drum bass drum thing. It's just really neat, and I think showcases how like
fucking tight he is.
How fucking tight he is. Yeah, that's exactly what I was looking for.
Yeah, it's great. The song has a music video that is very cute and endearing and fun.
Oh my god, I love this one.
Ben going to the pressing plant to pick up their vinyl for this record and being told that he basically has to assemble all the records himself because the plant hasn't done anything, while the people who work at the plant are just goofing off, and then he joins the goofing off. It's a really cute video.
It is a really cute video. Nobody in that video is forklift certified. I can guarantee it.
Yeah, that's good. Once again, they're just, I think they're very good at, let's take a very simple music video idea and just, make something that is memorable, but not like, clearly the budget for this wasn't extremely high, but it's great.
It's really, really good. I like that they like go into that door that says bands only, and that's where the band has been playing the entire time.
Yeah.
It's just it's a nice little touch.
It's good. After that is Foxglove Through the Clear Cut. This is a song that when this was released as a single, this was the third single, I remember the reaction to this being like, okay, all the Death Cab fans who kind of, went on to other different, their taste changed, went on to different kinds of music, came back and were like, oh, this band still got it. And, whether you were a fan from the Fax era, fan from the Plans era, whatever it was, this is the one that made everyone's ears perk up and be like, oh, this band is doing something new and interesting and different. This is a song that Ben found when he was digitizing 4-track demos from the late 90s, like the earliest Death Cab stuff. He found this guitar riff and then rebuilt it into this song, which is this basically Death Cab does post rock, and it's
basically
wonderful.
Yeah. It's really good. I didn't know that about the song going in, but like it is really like it is very cool to like know that this song was like basically 25 years in the making. But yeah, it's really cool. It's one of those songs that like Ben talks about, like, writing the song and kind of like, he's like, yeah, I've got this character in my head. And usually when I have characters for songs, I can like clearly picture who they are and like who they're talking to. Like everybody in the song is like kind of a distinct image in my head. And he talks about how he had the image for like the narrator in his head, but the person he's talking to is blurred, or maybe the other way around. And then he was like, oh yeah, I realized the narrator is like kind of me, which is really great. I love that.
It's himself talking to himself at, different ends of this 25-year string that this song ties across the entire Death Cab career.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's also, as you kind of hinted at before, it's also about the way that, Manifest Destiny and Westward Movement have displaced Native American people, and the way that we have taken the land and used it to build cities and kind of destroyed the way that it was, and the clear cutting forests. And he describes it as, what is a funeral without flowers and 10,000 tombstones reaching for the sky? Is this, I think, really profound image that describes like this is what the destruction that we wrought in the world.
Definitely, yeah. And specifically using the image of foxglove in this song, like of incredibly beautiful, like one of my favorite flowers, but highly, highly toxic plants, is I think a nice touch too.
Yeah, I just thought no one seems interested in fixing what they've broken. They just sweep the pieces into the bushes and slip away.
Yeah.
It's also, we should add, like, this is all Ben doing basically spoken word, which is not a mode he's ever really toyed with before.
No, and I don't think since either. I can't speak super well to the next album.
It's kind of like Rise Against approaching Curve, in the sense that like this was the thing we did it once. It would be kind of weird to do it multiple times, I think.
Yeah. But again, like they really leaned into this one because they released it as a single. So
yeah. And also shout out Jason McGurr again. The like drum rolls and the choruses are unreal.
Yeah. Well, and the guitar on this song is just like ascendant when it like really kicks in. This is like, again, like you said, not a mode Death Cab has really ever been in before, but they execute it so well.
Yeah. This is would be into them doing more in this post-rock style, as an experiment at some point.
For sure, yeah.
Next up is Pepper. This one also was a single, also did like pretty well on the alternative charts. I just had no idea about.
I think it was also a number one. Like they had 2 number ones on this album.
Yeah, on the alternative charts. Yeah.
Yeah.
This song's pretty cool. It's sort of acoustic guitar driven. And this is one of the ones that's very explicitly about time slipping away and memory degrading and like just wanting to know that someone remembers you.
Yeah.
The title of Pepper coming from this, I mean, the highlight lyric of the song, this recollection that is often misconstrued, Sergeant Pepper with the faces of friends, but the names all lose you in the end. This idea that like just looking at, a picture from like, I don't know, a wedding or something like that, and just being like, oh, it's kind of like the album cover, the Sergeant Pepper album cover. There's all these people that I vaguely recognize, and I can't even name all of them anymore.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And then like further down, we get the all that's left is a version of events favorably framed for the sake of self-defense. Like, yeah, just kind of like not only interrogating like memory as like a like thing that slips away over time, but like the ways in which we construct the memories that we do hold on to frame ourselves in a more favorable light, or maybe not, depending on who you are.
Yeah, I mean, it's very similar to the I wish I could remember the song off the top of my head, but it's a song on Photo Album or Facts where the lyric is just explicitly about how our eyes inherently are seeing, we're flipping an image in our brains, and so we're inherently seeing something that's not really how it is, and
right.
It reminded me of that.
Yes, definitely. I cannot remember which song it is specifically, but yes, I totally know what you're talking about.
My brain, it kind of feels like related to the song, just does not store lyrics and song titles the way that it used to.
Yeah, no, I've been pretty bad at that all my life, actually.
all the RAM is written. It's being turned into, cold storage at some point.
It happens. The one other big line that I want to point out here is like maybe one of the most Ben Gibbard lines in the song is I was a city you were only passing through.
Yeah.
Love that line.
Good. Yeah, I like this song a lot. This is a really good like mid-album song. I feel like there are Death Cab records that I feel like kind of falter around this point, and this one really avoids that trap.
Yeah, I feel like they have a weird tendency to lose steam around this point. Like not on every album, obviously, but like it's a pattern that I've noticed over the course of this series. I mean,
Kintsugi being the worst offender,
most assuredly. But again, this one does not suffer from that because I'm as Strangers is also a rocker.
Oh, it is so good, and this is the true COVID feeling song. Like from that casualties of the punk wars is such a great line.
Casualties of the punk wars rules.
The chorus is, these days I miss strangers more than I miss my friends, and waves of conversations breaking on shores of my head again. It's the loneliness, the isolation, and this sort of like, you just want to be in public. You just want to be in, for me, the thing that I missed, I don't know about you, but the thing that I missed, which feels like an insane thing to miss, was like Christmas, being like in Christmas shopping time, like the weekend before Christmas on like, by like the Michigan Avenue Apple store, and just there are like 10,000 people on the sidewalk, and that bustle was the thing that I missed most during COVID.
I don't think that sounds insane at all. That makes a lot of sense to me.
And like nobody in Chicago likes to go Christmas shopping on December 18th on Michigan Avenue, but I kind of totally do.
Yeah, well, like, and that's one of those things that you don't know you like until you don't have it anymore.
Exactly, yeah. And now I'm just like, I go to the mall, and it's like, well, I guess I'm in Barnes & Noble, and there's some people here, but it's not the same as it was, Again, nothing is the same. That's what this record is about.
That is very true, and still true to this day.
Yeah. I don't know. This song has such great energy and riffiness, and then it does that kind of classic Death Cab switch into this very ethereal ocean of guitars and keyboards and stuff in the bridge.
Yeah, like it. Yeah, we do this like almost full fade out of like the like really rockin' song into that like washy ethereal bridge situation, and like it's a very well pulled off transition.
Then you get Wheat Like Waves, which I would make a case that this is like the true defining song of this album. I don't know that anyone in the band thinks about it that way. It wasn't a single. It's not like a total departure for them. But I think that this song is just the most beautiful summation of all the ideas that are going into this album. It's about a road trip across Canada that Ben took with one of the members of the band Stars, who are also great, and is just, it's this, I don't know, it's kind of the isolation, but it's also just about being with a person in real life and talking about the, where you've been, how you got here, and kind of that idea I mentioned at the beginning that this, like, it is also kind of summed up in my delusions ablaze, but a homesteader's life at 45 was just a fleeting dream. There's no way I'd survive. And this idea that, like, you are understanding the things that you will not have at this point in your life and being okay with that. And then that it ties into the line about Torquil Campbell is a member of Stars talking about their, like, children. And Ben says, I could not pretend to comprehend the depths of that kind of love as a childless man, which is, like, what a fascinating thing to put into a song.
Oh my, yeah, no, it all ties back to this kind of central theme of, like, understanding that there are things that you don't have, you might never have, and being accepting of that, even though, like, I'm sure many people, especially over the course of COVID, looked at, like, people doing homesteading and were like, that seems kind of nice. Even though, no, Ben, you're a dude in a touring band and you would never actually enjoy that. Obviously the being childless is a different thing, but, like, it recognizing, like, as much as you want to empathize with a person, you can't, like, necessarily do that.
Yeah, or that you just won't have certain experiences.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, that's what the line, I never would have thought that life was so long that we'd be growing old with stories untold is what really sums that up.
Yeah. Like, you make it this far, you feel like you would have hit everything, even though that's literally impossible and it will never happen.
Right. And like, again, I think this song is the realizing that you can be okay with that.
Yeah.
And, like, I hope that's a place I get to in my life at some point. I don't think I'm there yet.
I don't think I'm there yet either. I feel like I'm getting better at recognizing the things that I appreciate but don't necessarily want for myself. And I think that that's a step towards that.
Yeah. I mean, and then just to, like, to get to the sort of the end of the song and you were kindled by the dials on the dashboard, your tattoos like stamps upon your passport. Some of Ben's best imagery.
Yeah. Oh my God. So good. I just want to point out also that this song, they do the thing that I love where the lead guitar line follows the vocals just a little bit, and it's just a nice little bit of punctuation. It starts on that the winters in Saskatchewan are so cold. And happens like one or two more times in the song. But yeah, brilliantly put together song, and like you said, that last bit of the song is, like, some top-notch Ben Gibbard imagery.
Yeah, this one's been stuck in my head the most this week. I think it is weirdly catchy for a bit of a ballad.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's great. It's this, like I said, my favorite song on this record, one of my favorite latter era Death Cab songs, give or take a 60 in punk.
Yeah, for sure.
Then you get Fragments from the Decade, which is a pretty quiet, spacious song. Lots of reverb and swells. This kind of feels more like a Thank You for Today song a little bit, I think.
I would argue that it does feel a lot like that, yeah.
There's a little bit of the idea of cities as both destroyers of land and of, the Native American way of life, and also of ourselves just by living in cities, with this, like, walking in place where you don't belong here on paved native lands. Time disappears from the palms of your hands.
This song is really, like, again, like, thematically ties to the album in many, many ways. Like, we are explicitly talking about the loss of time, like, as a like physical image, like imagining, like, sand escaping from your hands, like your hands are an hourglass or something like that. Talking about memory again on this track, kind of sifting through these fragments of the decade, be they physical photos or some other record of your own past that you're, trying to write a through line to, even though it may or may not exist. Yeah, I don't know. I think this song is pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, I think it's really good. So the song is written in, like, second person. Do you feel like this ties back to any other kind of person? Do you think this is, like, revisiting a person or a character from another Death Cab song.
I get that impression, but I couldn't pinpoint who.
I was, there's a bit of the person that Styrofoam Plates is about. I can see a little bit of the Your Twin Size Bed character, or Kath, or kind of any of those characters who he's kind of revisiting 10 years after this kind of pivotal event in their life that he has already written about.
Yeah, I can definitely see that for any of those.
Yeah, I think it's a really great penultimate track. And this is where my affection for this album ends.
Somehow I knew this was the one.
I'll Never Give Up on You is the closing track of the song. I don't think it's too strong to say that I really deeply hate this song.
That's fair.
I don't like the instrumental arrangement. I don't like the choice of synthesizer. I think the discordant piano hits are kind of cool, but I don't like this chorus at all. This song is just a total dud at the end of this record for me.
I got to this song and I didn't remember much about it, and I did leave, like, aside from the huge ending that I think is pretty cool, I don't get it. Like, I don't understand why this is the closer.
I mean, I understand why it's the closer.
I sure, yeah, but like, I don't know, man.
Well, because I mean, this song, the idea of the song is about stripping away the things that you've realized you don't need in your life, or that were not helping you. It's the like direct, literal version of what we were talking about in Wheat Like Waves. This idea of understanding at 45 years old that there's things you'll never experience, and what you were talking about, like you're realizing what you respect but don't actually need in your life, or whatever it is. Like, that's what this song is. I've given up on ever being cool, gave up on the drugs that made me restless, all this stuff. And it makes sense as an emotional place for the album to land. I think there are not enough verses in the song. I would put like 6 more verses in this, and I think that would make it better.
And several fewer Never Give Ups, or
yeah. We'll talk about the acoustic version of this album. The acoustic version of the song is like so infinitely better, and I think I would be much more fond of the album if they had just popped that acoustic version on here instead of this full band thing.
Sure, I can absolutely see that. Yeah, I don't take as much issue with this song, but I 100% see what you're saying, and I think this is by far my least favorite song on the record, if nothing else.
Yeah, we've Death Cab just not a closing track band, I guess.
Sure,
we've had outside of 60 and Punk, just very little enthusiasm for Death Cab closing tracks over the course of the series, and this is no big change there.
Yeah, this might have the biggest gap between like next best song and worst song.
Yeah, and like the thing, I wouldn't even have minded if the album just ended at Fragments from the Decade. It would be just fine.
I honestly think that's also a very thematically appropriate end to the album. Like, I appreciate the like more positive note that this ends the album on, and like I'm sure that the band thought that's what people need right now.
I am perfectly willing to accept that this is a me problem. I was skimming the chorus thread for this album, and the reaction to the song was very positive when it came out. I imagine the band obviously seems into it. I think it is doing all the things that I don't like about making all the wrong choices, doing all the things I don't like about Ben Gibbard's writing or Death Cab's arrangements. Like, it's not that they do this often, but when they do, it really grates on me.
Sure, I think that's totally fair.
Yeah. But yeah, that's Asphalt Meadows, the album proper. There are a handful of B-sides for this album. There's a couple demos that came out as bonus tracks, compilation tracks. Rand McNally and Here to Forever. Did you check out these demos?
I did, yeah. They both feel like pretty fully fleshed out for the most part. There's some stuff that like it sounds like got taken out of Rand McNally. Just like some like subtle like little swells or like sections of claps that happen in the demo.
Yeah, minor lyric changes too.
Yeah. The Here to Forever demo also like similarly feels pretty like close to what ended up on the album, minus some like wild filtering that's happening on the drums towards the beginning. But yeah, both like, you know, obviously showed promise. I can see why they were like, yeah, these are what we want to bring.
Yeah. I think they're cool. I like that stuff's out there. Again, release all the demos. I want to hear every single one of them, all 90.
Thank you. Yep.
Other stuff that was from this era, they did, which actually I'm realizing I forgot to listen to this. I listened to it when it came out, but did not listen to it this week, was the Georgia EP, which was a 2020 release to raise money for candidates in the 2020 elections in Georgia. Just covers of bands from Georgia, TLC, Neutral Milk Hotel, REM, among others.
Yeah. I mean, I can comment on these real briefly.
What's the best one?
The best one is the Vic Chestnut cover.
Okay.
The Flirted With You All My Life. Which
Bright Eyes also covered this song, right?
Yeah. And I feel like it's a very like in the spirit of, honestly, the common DNA between Bright Eyes and Death Cab shines through in this song. Just the way that it's written. The King of Carrot Flowers cover is fine. The REM cover is really nice. I don't like the cover of Waterfalls. I don't need more bands of white dudes doing songs by
covers.
Black women. Yeah. Sorry guys, they already did it way better than you could ever possibly dream of doing it. It's weirdly like pretty good until you hit the chorus, and then they like either don't go for it hard enough or go like way too like hard on trying to make it sound close to the original. They should have made a different choice at that point.
Okay, yeah. I don't remember that one, admittedly, from when I listened to it back in 2020.
That's fair. But there's also a Cat Power cover that's pretty good.
Let's see. Then they contributed a track to a Yoko Ono tribute called Waiting for the Sunrise. Pretty cool cover, I think.
Yeah, I think it works pretty well. One of my few notes on this song was it would be really funny if the song wasn't called Waiting for the Sunrise, because that is 90% of the song.
They say it a lot.
Very similar to Never Give Up.
And then the big other thing in this era is the Asphalt Meadows acoustic version, which comes out in 2023 and March 2023. And it's a full acoustic version of the album. They went into a studio and really, put effort into this. This is not like kind of a tossed off, did it with an acoustic guitar in my bedroom acoustic version. This is a full rearrangement of the record. And I think in some ways and on some songs eclipses this album that I already really, really liked.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's really impressive how much I, one, love this, and two, like, how some of, like, these songs that I already loved are made even better by just a slight rearrangement or a very heavy rearrangement in some cases.
Yeah, do you have any particular favorites?
I really love the acoustic version of Rand McNally. I agree with you that Never Give Up on You is improved by being acoustic. I wrote down Mountain Goat's ass strumming on that one because it does almost make it sound like a Mountain Goats song. Beyond those, I actually really like I Don't Know How to Survive.
Yeah, same.
I think the way that they like incorporate the piano into the chorus to like make it big without making it just like abrasively loud like they do on the original is a really inspired choice. But like for the most part, I don't think any of these are bad.
No, none at all.
I think they all benefit from getting this like, I guess, slightly stripped down in some cases, very stripped down in other cases treatment.
Do you generally like this kind of fully acoustic reimagining of an album?
It's not something I've encountered a lot of, honestly. I usually hear like a song or two, and that's kind of it. Like, do you have any others in mind that you particularly enjoy?
Oh, this thing has happened a lot with bands in like the pop punk emo scene, and I used to try to make playlists of this when bands I was like Lifehouse, like bands I was into in like the early 2000s. Or the Ataris, whatever, where they would play there were a lot of acoustic versions floating around. So I would just kind of assemble my own acoustic versions of albums. But then bands started, like Yellow Card has done a bunch of them. I think the Ataris have done, or basically done, full acoustic shows or whatever, playthroughs of their albums. I'm sure there's many that I'm not like thinking of off the top of my head. And I almost never end up listening to them a ton or liking them as much as the full, the original versions of the albums. Something about this one, just the way they do the dynamics, the way it all sounds, like I feel like I played them both about an even number of times over this past week because whatever I was feeling, whatever the vibe, the situation, like one of the versions of the album would fit. And I really, really like that. I feel like I will go back to the acoustic version even more than the full album over the years. It really is just a nice thing to put on.
It really is. I feel like overall, I feel like the string arrangements on this, like when they do come in, are just like impeccable. I really love that, just like as a touch in general. I think like not to like go too far back into the like specific tracks, but I do feel like the fragments from the Decade acoustic version like sticks out a lot here, just because it's like a slightly different arrangement than even anything else on here. There's like a pump organ or something like that.
The quieter songs, it's a little, they have to make kind of more extreme choices to reimagine them than like the louder songs.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, but like specifically for fragments from the Decade, I wrote like I like the original version, but I think I love this version.
Yeah.
So
I should add, Spanish Love Songs has done this.
Oh yeah, of course.
With, I think both of their last couple albums, the Brave Faces, etc., is very, very worth checking out if you're a fan of that band.
Yeah, definitely. Hard agree.
Yeah, and then there's really only one more thing from this era, which is at the end of 2023, they released An Arrow in the Wall, which is, I assume, a song. I didn't actually look into this specifically, but I assume a song from these sessions. It feels connected enough. It's a pretty groovy, kind of foreboding track with this kind of like fuzzy sound, lots of cool guitar playing on it, and a pretty dark song about like the decay of society.
Yeah. I mean, Ben specifically like says, "Oh yeah, like this is about the warning societies that we're decaying as a society." Like yeah, it's pretty grim.
Yeah, it's a good song. I really like it. I'm glad it's not on the record. I think it's a little too grim for what the album is doing.
For sure, yeah.
Pretty cool Church's remix of this song.
Yeah, I definitely wrote, like, all I wrote down about that was this sounds exactly how you would expect it to, including a added Lauren Mayberry like layer of vocals, and I love it as a result. It's great.
Yeah. That is the last thing that they release on Atlantic. They are in, I don't know if they've talked about this or if the acoustic version of Asphalt Meadows had anything to do with record contract fulfillment or anything like that. Because this is not something they've done previously. But
right.
This is after this, and we'll talk about this obviously next week, that they're off Atlantic. They signed to Anti and get into the next. The future of the band seems to be more independent.
Definitely, yeah.
All right. Anything else on Asphalt Meadows?
No, just like honestly, a really stellar period for the band that I had apparently slightly underestimated in its time. I will be returning to this one a bunch, I think.
Yeah, and they ride the momentum of this into the Transatlanticism 20-year tour, also obviously.
Right, for sure.
Which I don't know how much we need to say about that. We attended the tour; it was great.
It was great.
Yeah, and then we'll obviously more next week on I Built You a Tower. But for now, do you have a random recommendation?
This week, I want to recommend the new album from Amy Rose Mills called "I Think We've Met Before." I don't have a ton to say about this album except that it kind of like blew me away a little bit. It's like haunted folk, I guess, is kind of how I'd describe it. It's got elements of folk. It's got like, it's got experimentation on it. There's some like really wild string stuff happening. I just like the word haunted just comes up in my mind every single time I like listen to anything off this record. It feels like this is a really weird comp, but it feels like the exact midpoint between like Sufjan Stevens and Lingua Ignota, which is not something I say lightly. I just it feels like you are, you're occasionally in a space where like it feels like okay, like things are calm, but then like something will happen, like a subtle little thing, or like somebody will scream, or something like that. And I don't know, like I need to spend a little more time with this album, but it's one of the most unique things I've heard this year, which is part of the reason that I have that lingua ignota poll, because I think that she is a pretty singular voice in music in general. Kristen Hayter being the person in question. And I feel pretty similarly about Amy Rose Mills. This was released on Brutal Panda Records, who the only other release I know from that label is the Death Pose album from a year or two ago, which features members of Typesetter. Also a great record worth checking out. But yeah, I don't know. It feels weird to try to describe this album. If you are at all interested in hearing something that might freak you out a little bit, or make you feel unsettled, it's worth checking out. Yeah, I think we've met before by Amy Rose Mills.
Okay, that sounds very cool.
I think you might dig it. Yeah, what you got?
I am going to recommend. I was going to recommend the new Mountain Goats record. I do recommend the new Mountain Goats record, but that's not what I want to talk about today. I am going to recommend the new album Molotov Nights by the Iron Roses. This is just a punk band, a punk band in all the ways that a band should be punk. Featuring former Boy Sets Fire vocalist Natasha Gray. We have actually, Long Way Home has opened for them before quite a few years ago. And but this new record is just fast and loud and political and angry and anthemic, and it reminds me of the first time I heard Against Me or the first time I heard Strike Anywhere. And, those two bands loom pretty large in my history, so that's pretty high praise coming from me. And this is like 28 minutes of absolute fire. It rips. The songs are so catchy and so vicious in what they're about, and everything about this band just feels so exciting and vital. And I am truly actually upset now that they have an overlapping set time at Riot Fest with Strike Anywhere, who I've never seen before and must get a great spot for. So sorry to the Iron Roses, I will not be seeing you at Riot Fest, but I will be playing this record tons this year.
I have not listened to this one yet, but I'm very excited too, based on what you and others have said. Also, that show that we played with them was the one where we all got COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's fine. Just tying it all back to Asphalt Meadows a little bit.
That is true. We will be back next week talking about I Built You a Tower for the end of our Death Cab series. And in the meantime, you can find us on the internet at noisefloorpodcast.com. Follow us on Instagram at noisefloorpod, and send us email at noisefloorpodcast@gmail.com. And we will see you next week.
See you next week.